part of being a power couple is knowing when to step in,
Yes,
and when to stay in your lane, as they say. Even though I hated that phrase when someone used to say it to me, I think it's very important to do that. To know when to do that. And I think if you weren't so great, I'd probably be getting out of my lane a lot more. But I actually stop and think about it.
Yeah, and also I see sometimes where I have to stay in my lane.
Yep. So knowing when to do that, and for me, it's always this careful balance of like which things, because I don't ever want to be a nag, but which things do you bring up and which things you don't. Make sure you're honoring yourself and not just letting stuff go, because over time it can become a really big thing. Yeah. But like I said with you, I always stop to think about certain things and be like, this is a nothing, because he's so amazing in so many ways. I'm not lowering the bar. I'm not like, well, he works so hard and brings home the bacon, so he gets to stay out till 1 a.m. No.
What if he's at the strip club?
Yeah, exactly. Right? And so, yeah, I mean, I know I wouldn't allow any of that crap.
What's interesting is that as much as we've progressed as a couple, we still see room for improvement, which I think is great. I know some people think that, oh man, I got to change something else, but that's the great thing about life is changing something. And as we evolve as a couple, it just brings us closer. So change actually helps us. It doesn't hinder us.
Right. Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Love, Growth, and Narratives. I'm Frederick.
And I'm Tiffany.
And today we want to talk about power couples.
Yes. And what power couples, when you hear the term power couples, I'm sure that something comes to your mind very quickly, whether it be different celebrities, or it could be people in your circle, or it could even be yourself. So what power couples mean is different to different people.
Absolutely.
And for me, I did always want to be a power couple. There was a time where I was so into making vision boards. And my idea of a power couple originally, I'm just keeping this real, this is before all the scandals, was like Will Smith and Jada. I saw them as a power couple. I just saw them as like equals, because that's what power couples really means to me. And then I had on there Jay-Z and Beyonce on my power couple board. And finally I had Barack and Michelle on there. And that's probably closer to where I'm at, somewhere between Beyonce and Jay-Z and, But anyway, so we're going to talk about, we're going to take a dive together in what power couples mean to each of us and what it means in our relationship. And so hopefully you can find something in here that you enjoy. It could just be entertaining, or something that you could take away into your own relationship.
Okay, so we might as well just get started with the conversation. What do you think?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get started. So with power couples, I guess what it means to me, and I used to kind of feel the same way that you did, where you have the couple that's just out attacking the world and everything. And I do still kind of see that. But I think for me, where I found the true power couples has to do with how well they get along and how well they work through issues and how well they serve the community and as well as, if they have kids, if they have, friends, how well they serve the people around them. And just giving an example on how to get along, how to work through difficulties and stuff like that.
Yeah, for me, a power couple is really two people who kind of fit together, but when they don't, they know how to take up the slack for the other person.
Yes.
They're on the same team about a lot of different things, and things that are maybe difficult. They find a way to solve that without it being one person's like, it's my way and that's it. You know what I mean? Where the other person is just, we haven't been married or together that long, so we haven't had any really big, huge thing that we had to like.
Yeah, but we have been in enough relationships where we know what we don't want. and we have a good idea as to what doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in enough situationships to know that. I mean, I've had some relationships younger, but really when full adult, like over 25, over 30, it was a bunch of situationships. And I know I don't want that, you know what I mean? And so I knew that I didn't want to have, I knew I needed someone who came with a lot of the things that I love and respect. And before you, I wasn't really finding that. Not that these people were horrible, but it wasn't like the majority of what I need to be my best in a relationship.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I had relationships with some really good women. I mean, so I couldn't complain about who they were as people, but it just wasn't a fit. So it just kind of, you know, you can have the greatest person in the world, but if there's not compatibility, and I think in being a power couple, that compatibility is crucial, because where you have one is stronger, where the other one isn't so much, where one can take up the slack for the other, and that constant give and take, I think, is critical. And so it's not just about having two good people.
Right. And I never feel, for me, it would be really big. I couldn't be a power couple. I could only really be a certain type of power couple. I have to feel that the person that I'm with holds who I am and what I desire and my thoughts in high regard. And not like I'm secondary to them and their thoughts and their ideas. So that's really important to me, because my power is I am a person who is powerful.
And luckily you have great thoughts, so that makes it so that makes it easy. You know, I'm not giving up anything.
And I'm not saying I can't listen or defer to you or someone who knows more than I do, but just that overall idea that one person is like, you're here and the other person's just here. Like that would not work for me. Like I couldn't be a power couple on a team like that. So that was really important to me. I feel like I can tell that you really respect women and you know, believe that they have something important to say. And you also can see the flaws in us that are not, I don't feel like you're bashing, you know, and the same within men. And so that alone is huge.
Well, yeah. And I was luckily I was raised by, you know, strong women. Between my mother and my older sister, you know, I mean, growing up around those two, there's no way you couldn't respect women. So it's just not even possible. So
I mean, some men find it possible.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do appreciate that, and that way it makes it easier. Everything we do, every hurdle we have to jump over, it helps to have that piece in place.
Yes.
You know? In terms of being a power couple, like in our careers, I think we both like love our careers and take it very seriously. I mean, there's things that frustrate us. Don't get me wrong. You know, I'm not just like, woohoo, I like to be abused all day. But, you know, there are definitely, we feel strongly about what we do. We're passionate about it. And it just so happens that what you do and what I do, it doesn't interfere too much with the relationship. Like, you're not working all these crazy hours and I'm not anymore. You know what I mean? So my hours that I'm contracted to work are perfect for the kind of hours you have, which are very free. And I love that. Like, I remember always saying that was something I wanted in someone, is that somebody who's not like working like crazy. You know, like it wasn't as important to me that, you know, I even if I married a doctor, like someone who's always working, like that's just a turnoff to me.
Well, you got to understand that in the beginning, that was you. You were always working, you know, you were always on, you know, and the parents and the students, everybody had your phone number and could call you 10, 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, what's going on with this?
Yeah.
You know,
but true. But that also was my choice. It wasn't like part of the job.
Right.
You know what I mean? I could turn that off or turn it on as needed.
Yeah.
So that was just really important to me, to have someone that I could spend a lot of time with. And that, you know, we weren't just like passing in the night, or you know what I mean? And in terms of family, I feel like, you know, I mean, my family's small, as you know, and your family's big, well, fairly big, especially compared to mine. And
They're
then,
average size, but you know,
I guess.
my family is not big, you know, but we're you know
Yeah.
we're decent size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love your family. Like everyone in there is like everyone in there is the main character, right? So I was like, at first I'm like, I am so nervous
Yes.
to be around this.
We are a bunch of characters. Yes.
That's everyone's a power person. Everyone's a power couple. And that's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
You know, and at first I was like, oh no, can I live up to this? You know what I mean? Even you, like you're so smart and you know so many different things. And I definitely do not have the intellect that you have. You know, mine is different but I don't know everything, you know, something about everything and I don't.
You have the same amount. It's just different.
Yeah.
We have different intellectual strengths, which is also one of the things that I needed. If you had the same intellectual strength than I did, then it wouldn't be as much for me to learn from you.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
we probably never sleep because we'd be talking, debating about everything. After I'm listening, okay, let me look up that.
Yeah, but I think about the ways in which we are so different.
Mm-hmm.
They benefit the relationship, but there's trade-offs to the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like for me, I'm an early morning person. You know, I'm you know, during the week, 5:30 on the weekends, I may allow myself to sleep in till like 6:30.
Yeah.
You know, I know whereas with you can sleep.
Yeah.
But then, you know, at night, you know, 8, 9 o'clock when I'm turning in ready to go to sleep, you know, you're still up and moving. So there's an advantage there because things can get handled regardless to when they happen.
Right.
Because if it's early, then I can take it on. If it's later, you can take it on. Right. So there's advantages to that. Now, of course, the disadvantage is, you know, when I'm ready to fall asleep and you're still up and it's just like, come on now.
I don't disturb, right? The lights are off
Yes.
and all of that. And I've actually come closer to your bedtime than I previously, before I would go to sleep like 12:30, 1 o'clock.
I remember.
Right. But I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I can't, nor do I really want to.
Yeah.
But I do need to also just, before I go to sleep, I need to just wind down on the phone or whatever. I know I'm probably should be doing something else, but it's like what I enjoy.
I think also we have a difference in risk appetite, whereas you're fairly risk averse when it comes to a lot of things, you know, whereas I'm not so much. you know, I sometimes I like to take risks just out of curiosity and, you know, but you know, that's one of those things where, you know, even in my 50s, there's still parts of me that are still a teenager.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I like calculated risks, but I do believe in risks. Like I want to take some financial risks, not big ones that could, you know, have us on the street. But I do want to invest in properties and do things like that. So I do have those kind of risks. Do I want to jump out of an airplane? Absolutely not. Those type of things are not.
That's why when I do it, I'm not going to share the video with you.
That's why you're not doing
it. But even in terms of those types of risks, because you have, you know, anxiety and for good reason, you know, when it comes to planning for the future and stuff like that. And there are things that I think about, but I don't put as much muscle to it as you do, you know, and that's something where I need to catch up. You know, that's something where you're definitely better at it than I am, that I need to catch up.
Well, I'm catching up myself because, I mean, we're 55 and there's more things in play. I mean, you know, luckily the kind of job I have and all that stuff, but I do, you know, there's some things I wish I'd done differently. And knowing that we have to take care of ourselves, basically, as we get older, we need to be planning.
Yeah. And it's crazy because, you know, at 53, I still feel really young, but I also know that, you know, I'm not. And there are things that can happen that I do need to do a better job at planning for. And, you know, you remind me of those things, which is helpful because I do need to do a better job at that.
Yeah, I think we're really good at coming up with the ideas and of the things we want to do and the lifestyle we want to lead. But I think the actions, putting it into action, is where we need to, you know, come together more.
Yeah.
And sit down and put the time into that, like we do some of the other things.
Yeah.
You know. So I mean, we're great. Like we I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I tried many times to do several different things at a company called She Made, and you have that spirit as well.
Absolutely.
And so now we have Moco Media, like it's official and all that,
Yeah.
LLC. So that's exciting. We just need to really, sit down and like make sure that we're writing things down and taking notes,
Yes.
and that we have everything in order on paper, because otherwise things
Yeah.
can get pretty sticky. So that's where we need to I think you are the type of person to really go in and do something, but it's certain things.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes.
then me, I'm more like, oh my God, we got to do everything. And then I
Yeah.
just freeze and do nothing. So it's like
Yeah.
in the end, we're in the same space where we're like, we both have not done this. Right? Like we got that app. What is it? Monarch,
yeah.
right? That you put this app and you put your accounts in there, and the app goes through and it sends you.
Well, no, you log into the app and it basically helps you to understand where you're spending money. It helps you to plan and stuff like that. And I'm sure I look at it more than you do, but I look at it for the reasons why I look at it is I've gotten benefit in terms of I've had subscriptions that I've had forever. I was like, I don't even use this thing anymore. And so it kind of helped me to alert that so I could cancel a lot of expenditures that I don't even need, don't even use.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was value in that. But yeah, that's one of those things that we do need to jump more into.
Yeah, we need to sit down and really look at that.
But I think that one of our major similarities that I'm really proud of is that we are both community focused. We do care about people getting better. You do it through your teaching. I mean, the stuff that you've been able to accomplish with some of the children, that have come into your class. Some of them have been behavioral problems. Some of them, just aren't that curious. Some of them are just, some of them, don't have a whole lot of motivation, and you've been able to bring a lot out of a lot of kids, with me in terms of trying to teach, in my teaching cybersecurity and trying to bring more people into the industry. And I think that we both as a couple also just care about people and want people to be better, which I think is great.
Yeah, and for you, not just the cyber security stuff, it's also just your friendships, just people. You're always trying to get people to be better in some way or another. So we know that when Freddie comes around, we're going to have some deep talks, and we're about to be vulnerable. Whether you want to or not, you're going to do
it. I'm really not good at small talk. I've tried to get better at it, but I'm really not. I love having deep, consequential conversations. I love learning, and so people bring up ideas that I never thought of, and then that sends me down a rabbit hole, researching it and everything, But another thing I wanted to talk about, because this came up in our conversation yesterday, had to do with where we're different, because we talked about during the wedding planning, and we were down at the flower shop. And all that time talking about different shades of purple. And I'm staring out the window, looking at 18-wheelers, thinking if I run in front of one just fast enough, that maybe it can keep me from having to deal with this anymore. And it seems like you had a similar experience yesterday.
I did. The difference is what we were doing was for both of us for our wedding.
Yes.
And yesterday we went to a cyber security picnic, basically.
Yeah, meetup. Yeah,
meetup. And here's another thing. Like, I'll tie it all back together. But for me, like, because I've said a million times, I'm an introvert, and I have some extrovert, ways about me. People don't think I'm introverted, but I am.
Yes.
But my battery does run out after a while, especially if we're not talking about something that's like of high interest to me.
Right.
And so, I can smile and right. But when someone says, okay, you ready to go? And I agree that like, let's go, then I am immediately ready to go. Okay. And I've been like this, as a child, or, and if you Black, you definitely know that when Black people say, I'm about to leave, you still got a good 45 minutes before you go anywhere, because you got to stop and have a 20-minute conversation with several people. But, so once my mind gets wrapped into that, right? And then that wasn't happening. It was like, oh, I understand that I gotta say goodbye, right? But the
Yes.
goodbyes are long goodbyes, okay?
I didn't expect them to
And,
be long goodbyes, but
yeah,
yes.
but you joined in. You
I
added
did.
to it. So
I
the
did.
last one, I was like, oh my God. I too was looking at the cars passing like, and take me with you. Like, I was just like, I'm so done. And then my cheeks were hurting from smiling and agreeing to things I do not understand. Because, you know, and if you've ever been around cybersecurity people, they're like, the P12 and the 546 and the FAFA and the JoJo. It's like, what are you talking about? You know? So I guess we're the same in that way.
Yes.
Where we're like, when we're not into it, we're not into it. But at the same time,
but you stayed there like a champ.
yeah,
And you kept the smile on,
yes.
even though you were probably losing a bit of your mind. But yeah, and I appreciate that. But that comes into what we had talked about before in terms of, you know, matching effort even when you don't match the interest.
Yeah.
And I've seen where a lot of couples are like, this is my thing, this is your, which is not always the worst thing. I mean, that can work in certain circumstances.
Right.
But when you're not willing to support your partner because it's something you're not interested in,
Right.
that's where I kind of have an issue.
Exactly. I agree. And what I also like about that, because that could happen in a lot of couples, but it's pretty even.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'll do some stuff that I like to do and I'll do some stuff that you like to do. It's not where it's like, I'm always, because I've been in relationships like that where the man is so limited on what he would do.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, he equates everything to being straight or gay or just ridiculousness that, you know, you end up like, oh, forget it. Oh, forget, I'll do that with somebody else. I'll do that. Well, I don't feel like I have to do that with you. I still have things I do with my friends. Don't get me wrong. But I can still do some things with you. And to me, that's about building memories. And that's what you're supposed to do. If I have to do all the things I love with someone else, what am I doing with you? You know what I mean? So,
but I think that throughout our relationship, as short as it's been very intentional. Mm-hmm. We are very intentional in how we talk to each other, how we are around each other. And I think that's important. And so, it's easy to say, well, you guys have only been married for, you know, less than 9 months, you know, but it's the things that we're putting in place that set us up for the future, I think is important. You know, one of the things that we started doing in the beginning was the 3 questions. And now we have friends who are doing it in their relationships. Yeah. And it was interesting was that a friend of mine, CJ, one of my Black Men Run brothers, he came up to me a couple of weeks ago and he was like, yo, those 3 questions, me and my wife still do that to this day and it works, you know? And so, but for those who don't know, the 3 questions are, what are you grateful for? What are you struggling with? And what can I help you with? And those 3 questions just really make a difference. Yeah. Because what it does is it gives you the ability to work on the small things while they're small.
Right.
Before they tend to blow up.
So let's talk about boundaries and how it can protect the relationship.
Yes.
So first of all, when it comes to family, we grew up with different family structures.
Absolutely.
Right. And so you had 2 parents and, you know, they were, your mom stayed at home with you as well. Right. And for me, my early years, I didn't grow up with my dad at all. He was not in the picture at all.
Right.
And so growing up, it was my grandparents initially until we moved out to California and I was 7. So that was like the model in terms of male participation that I remember. Right. My uncles were, you know, in and out, whatever. They were older. So my grandmother stayed at home and my grandfather worked, but my grandmother it still appeared like she was the head. Like she handled all the money and everything. Right. So that's what I saw. I saw, that was my idea of a power couple at the time. I mean, there were things that now I would say maybe not, but in terms of the equality that was there, I didn't grow up with this idea that men hold more weight and power and whatever else in the home.
Right.
And anyway, pushing that forward to now talking about boundaries, there aren't a lot of people to interfere in the relationship in the first place, right? Like I have a cousin here and my cousin's wife and kids, but they're little. And so there isn't like this big, huge family dynamic or anything. So I think my mom does, I don't want to say require, however, she's a big part of our relationship and because you're so supportive and you help out so much. And because I have so much anxiety and I, feel like I got to take care of my mom. Yeah. So a lot of stuff is like surrounded around my mom, things that I do or don't do or, my hesitations. But I don't think it interferes with a relationship probably just because of who you are. I feel like in some other relationship, it could. But because you're so supportive and if I can't go see her or sit with her than you do or and then you give me that space to do what I need to do. It's not like this pressure like you're not home, you didn't make dinner or whatever, all that kind of stuff that I know some people go through. That is very helpful. Thank you. The boundaries are not just having to block other people out. You create boundaries where you don't overstep me and make me feel like what I'm doing or what I need to do I shouldn't be doing. You give me guidance and things like that. And I know you, so I know, certain things that I do want to like be home by a certain time. And I know that you can't sleep unless I come home and all those kind of things so those kind of boundaries that I need to watch. But other than that, I feel like those boundaries are pretty good. Like when it comes to like friendships or I don't feel like we have any of that drama.
No, we don't.
And when it comes to Joseph, I think the boundaries are good. But because, and I talked about how our families were different because I'm not used to all of this, this amount of interaction. Yeah. Usually it's someone in the house who's just, wreaking havoc, like my mom's ex-husband. So,
well, we have a dog that does that.
Yeah, so. True. But when it comes to Joseph, I don't think that we've ever had anything. We're good about not having certain conversations in front of him, that have to do with him or even us, like we're really good about that. I think that's excellent. There's been a couple of times where I'm like, should I step in? I think if there's been a very few times where I've stepped in with it right there in the moment live. Usually it's like he goes to the room and then we talk about it. But there's been a few times where I stepped in. Which
it doesn't bother me when you do step in.
Okay.
Because the times that you wait until later and then talk to me, when I talk to Joseph later,
he knows.
He knows. He's like, oh, did Tiffany tell you to say that? So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because if I have any kind of change in attitude, he knows it's because of you. So
I want us to get past that though.
No, but I appreciate that because I know that I have I have a harsher way of dealing with him in a lot of situations, which doesn't promote great communication between he and I. And so because you've helped me soften that and become more empathetic for his situation, that has brought he and I closer together. So just as you were talking about how I've helped you with your mom, well, back at you, because as much as you helped me with Joseph and just helped me to be a better father, because now there's days when you're not even around and Joseph and I will start talking, and before I come off harsh, it's like my inner Tiffany just starts yelling at me and don't do that. Don't say that. There's a better way of saying this. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
So now I've got my inner Tiffany that talks to me.
Awesome. And I have an inner Freddie too, because once in a while I'm like, okay, no, that's not how I would say it, but you know what, that needs to be said. So I'm like, okay, let me be quiet. And the good thing,
I think the inner Freddie has to do with some of the stuff that you look at on social media and the news, where it's kind of like, is that really true? Just because some random person said it on TikTok, how does that make it true?
Right. Not that I believed everything people said before, but I wasn't always skeptical of everything either.
I'm just naturally skeptical.
Yeah. I am sometimes, but there's always a little bit of truth to stuff. But
well, I'm and here's the thing, I'm actually more skeptical when someone says something that goes along with my bias, because it's real easy when someone is saying something that goes along with what you're thinking that, oh yeah. But the hard part is saying, nope, let me slow down a bit and make sure that I'm not going down the wrong road here.
Right. And I think part of going back to the whole power couple thing, part of being a power couple is knowing when to step in and when to stay in your lane, as they say, even though I hated that phrase when someone used to say it to me. I think it's very important to do that, to know when to do that. And I think if you weren't so great, I'd probably be getting out of my lane a lot more, but I actually stop and think about it.
Yeah, and also I see sometimes where I have to stay in my lane. I mean, there have been sometimes maybe a couple of friends of yours who I felt like I needed to say something to, and it's just like, oh, no, that's not for me. It's not for me. Let me stay in my lane here, and because I know that when I approach discourse, sometimes I can start off a little harsh. And so, it's like, nope, I'm gonna let it go. Let it go.
Yep. So knowing when to do that. And for me, it's always this careful balance of, because this is just so new to me, right? Like being in a real serious relationship, like which things, because I don't ever want to be a nag, but which things do you bring up and which things you don't. Make sure you're honoring yourself and not just letting stuff go, because over time, it could become a really big thing. Yeah. But like I said with you, I always stop to think about certain things and be like, this is nothing, because he's so, amazing in so many ways. I'm not lowering the bar. I'm not like, well, he works so hard and brings home the bacon, so he gets to stay out till 1 a.m. No.
What if he's at the strip club?
Yeah, exactly. Right? And so, I mean, I know I wouldn't allow any of that crap, but at the same time, I'm like, it could be smaller things but I don't have to worry about that, because and I don't know if that's because we're older or you just who you are, who I am, who we are.
Well, some of those things are because I'm older, and some of those things are because of who I am. I've never been a strip club kind of guy. I'm since my 20s, I've never even cared about going to clubs and stuff like that. So that, I got a lot out of my system pretty young in life. So, but what's interesting is that as much as we've progressed as a couple, we still see room for improvement, which I think is great. I know some people think that, oh man, I got to change something else, but that's the great thing about life is changing something. And as we evolve as a couple, it just brings us closer. So change actually helps us. It doesn't hinder us.
Right. Yeah. And that's powerful. Going back to the whole power couple thing.
Yeah. And then the next thing I really wanted to jump into, before we wrap all of this up, really has to do with, the things that I'm still not good at. And some of these things I will probably never be that great at, but these are things that you're very good at and that you can help me. You help me a lot with conversations with people. You help me a lot with, I can just jump into things kind of, I can go off half cocked basically, whereas you can slow me down. And so, and not only that, but even through all of the surgeries and everything where you just took over everything, the times I've had to go out of town, you just take over. And so for me, that's just huge, that I don't have to, not only do I not have to worry about things, but I know that if I need something that you're gonna be there to help me out.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, it's harder for me to let go of things because I'm so used to doing everything. Yeah. But I know that I should let go and feel comfortable letting go, right? And I think I will as more time goes by. But as I've said before, I'm also trying not to get lazy because you do so much for me and us. Like I'll do it. And so I'm like, okay. But I don't want to get so far there that I'm not growing, and so you do push me to grow because I do like to learn, but I kind of have my little small box of things that I like to do. And you're really making me broaden my horizons and get creative and come up with more things. And then you gave me the the gift of, being a parent and allowing me to run with that and do the best that I can. And
allowing you to see that it's not as easy as you thought it was going to be.
no, it's not. It's not. I don't know if I thought it was so easy, because I do believe it takes time, to change. But I think, I do think it's not as hard as people make it. It's hard.
It is hard.
It's hard on its own.
Yes.
Right. But when you add to that, it's kind of like life. Life is hard. Like, know, but when you add to it by doing things that are harmful and all, then it's like, oh my God, why are you doing that? Life's already hard. You're going to come across hard stuff already. So I feel like there's parts that, like, this doesn't have to be as hard as it is.
No, it doesn't. And a lot of it is because we as parents sometimes allow things to go on longer than we should, because we have difficulty breaking in. And so, those are times where we make it harder on ourselves than is necessary. Absolutely.
And then, of course, being step parent is different too, right? Like, when it's your own little kid, like, oh, constantly, like that, where you just don't want them to have a pain in the world.
Yes.
But then that it's not trying to protect them from pain, it's teaching them how to get through it. And, if you keep taking all the pains away, then they're not going to know how to do it. Right. So,
I mean, and that's one of the things, because in inserting you not only into my life, but into Joseph's life, I had a decent idea as to what I was doing, because I am a step parent as well. I have my stepdaughter who I'm still close with to this day. Hey, Janae. So, who I'm still close with to this day, and she was actually the first child that I raised, because she's older than my kids. And so I really, made all my mistakes. And she says I did pretty well. I sometimes I don't think I did, but I knew the hesitance that you would have in going into that. And I appreciate how well you've just taken it on.
And all that, I think, is like part of being a power couple.
Yeah.
So we're defining power couple for ourselves.
Yes.
And, I do appreciate the kind of couple that we are. It's just very comforting. And I've said it before, like, it just feels like home.
Yes.
And it's peaceful and all of that. So I love it.
It's a great way to be. There's still a lot of work to do, but it's work that we seem to just enjoy doing. We enjoy improving each other's lives. And that's one of the things that when I look in terms of a power couple, two people who make each other's lives better, and and then just try to be an example to others. Yeah. And so, I really appreciate, having met you, even though I know you were the one who initiated it, and I really appreciate that. But did you have anything else before we wrap up?
No, I just hope that more people can experience a soft, quiet, safe love, throughout their life, whether it's with a spouse or, friendships and their parents and everything, because it's a different space than when you're always like agitated and on eggshells and there's problems. I mean, there's going to be problems, but where it just takes over, Yeah.
And having problems where the other person isn't the problem. The problem is the problem. Right. And I think that's one of our great victories, but I don't want to go any further because we've already gone too long with this. But I really appreciate everyone tuning in, and please leave something in the comments. Let us know. First of all, I want to know what you think a power couple is, and secondly, how do you work through either becoming a power couple or maintaining being a power couple? I'd really love to see some of that in the comments.
Yes. And if you are a couple that is willing to share a little bit of, into your relationship and you want to be on the show, reach out to us.
Oh, please do. We would really enjoy that.
Yes. It would have a good time.
So for this episode of Love, Growth, and Narratives, I'm Frederick.
And I'm Tiffany.
Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Bye.